you're kind-hearted, you might find yourself stretched thin, always giving your time, your energy, your warmth. You have a heart of gold, yet there are days when even you feel invisible. You're the one who volunteers for every task, who listens patiently, who never says no. And if you look closely in the mirror after a long day, you might notice something unsettling behind your own smile. Exhaustion. Beneath the kindness you give to everyone else, there's a quiet weight. Everyone admires your generosity. Quote, between us, have you ever felt the pang of something darker each time you say yes, one more time? Like a little voice whispering, what about me? Maybe you feel a simmering frustration that you never let yourself express. Perhaps you feel invisible, your needs presumed to be always met because you refuse to speak them. You wonder if you're the only one noticing that your kindness isn't just a kind energy, it's become a mask. We often tell children, be kind, as if kindness were always pure. But what if kindness has a shadow side? What if the nicest person in the room is actually wearing a mask that keeps them safe from anger or rejection, but also cuts them off from their own truth? Right now, you might be wearing this mask. It might feel like part of who you are, the patient friend, the caring partner, the person who never disappoints others. But deep down, do you feel a little tired of being that person? Maybe a little scared that if you stop, something bad will happen. You are not alone in this. In fact, psychologists have a name for what happens when caring for too long comes at your own expense: compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is a kind of emotional burnout from caring too much for too long, without any fuel left for yourself. You may notice it as irritability, numbness, or the sense that even small requests feel like too much. These are the cracks forming in your kindness mask. But this isn't a verdict on you being weak or selfish. It's simply a human signal that your well is running dry. Let's put a name to this phenomenon: the kindness mask theory. Imagine you learned early on that being helpful and agreeable was the safest strategy. As a child, perhaps you picked up on subtle messages. If you make your siblings happy, people will love you. You stay quiet, no one will get mad. So you wore kindness like armor. Over the years, it worked. People praised you, depended on you, came to rely on your generosity. But now that armor has become heavy. In essence, the kindness mask is a survival mechanism turned chronic habit. It means your kindness can feel more like duty than choice. The mask kept you safe, but it also kept you from saying no. Psychologists explain that when kindness is driven by fear of rejection or by a desperate need for approval, it becomes a facade. It's no longer pure compassion, it's performance, and any mask worn too long starts to suffocate the person underneath. Take a moment and breathe. It's okay that this feels complicated. You might recall being told that good people don't complain, or that kindness means always putting others first. Those cultural myths can be powerful. In some families or circles, being the nice guy or girl is the highest goal. But if kindness came at the expense of your real feelings, then kindness wasn't really honored as the gift it is. It was something you had to trade away, a part of yourself, to uphold. So where did the kindness mask come from? Often, it's rooted in childhood. Maybe you grew up in a home where you had to be alert, where disapproval was a threat. You might have learned young that the safest way to belong was to avoid conflict and help others. Columbia psychiatry experts describe this as the fawn response. When someone feels emotionally unsafe, they appease others to stay connected. They say children who face neglect, abuse, or unpredictable caregiving often adopt this survival strategy to protect themselves. For example, if, as a child, you feared a parent's anger, you learned to calm the situation by being helpful and self-sacrificing. Over time, those coping patterns become internalized. Your early beliefs might have become something like, love is earned by giving, or if I want to be safe, I must be good. Psychologists explain that people-pleasing often stems from deep fears, anxieties, and insecure childhood attachments. In short, you are conditioned to think your value depends on what you do for others, not on who you are. This background is important because it means your kindness's mask is not your fault. It was a strategy that made sense in a tough environment. It kept a little you safe back then, but the world has changed, and you are no longer that child. The places where you needed to people please might not exist anymore, even if your mind still runs on those old scripts. Unlearning them is part of growing up. Now, as an adult, those hidden scripts have blossomed into unspoken theories you live by. Here are a few common ones. See if any feel familiar. The endless yes syndrome. You believe that the world will crumble if you say no, so you habitually volunteer, even when it leaves you depleted. You say yes to extra work, more favors, and emotional labor you secretly can't afford. The problem is, saying yes all the time backfires on you. Studies link this behavior to chronic stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health problems. You may push yourself past the breaking point because you feel guilty stopping. In those moments, the little voice does whisper, "But I'm exhausted," and you silence it again. You're convinced that your needs and opinions must be hidden. You suppress your feelings to keep the peace, avoiding any hint of conflict. You might even let others take credit for your efforts just to avoid a confrontation. Over years, you notice you've lost track of who you are. You don't remember what you want or need for a change because your identity has dissolved into that. Helpful Vocade research finds that lifelong people pleasers often end up suppressing their opinions and preferences so thoroughly they lose sight of who they are. The invisible person doctrine. Because you've signaled that you're endlessly accommodating. People have learned to take you for granted. When friends are in crisis, you're the first call. When you hurt, they don't notice. Even strangers rely on your kindness reflexively. They might leave emotional burdens for you to sort out, assuming you'll do it. In professional settings, this looks like always volunteering to stay late or pick up extra shifts because someone has to. You end up wondering, when will someone check in on me? The Martyr Complex. You equate goodness with suffering. If you don't push through exhaustion, you feel guilty, as if self-care is somehow selfish. You might even wear your martyrdom like a badge of honor. I'm so tired. I haven't slept in days from helping everyone. On the surface, that sounds noble, but underneath, a hidden resentment grows. You've been sacrificing quietly, and psychologists note this mindset is an unhealthy one. It can lead to depression and a bitterness you barely recognize in yourself. All these theories share a dangerous assumption. Your own well-being is negotiable. They teach you that prioritizing others means erasing parts of yourself. And over time, every automatic yes and every hidden no builds up an internal tension. That tension is silent resentment. You might snap at someone over something small, or feel a heavy knot in your chest when you reflect on how tired you are. These are the cracks showing in your mask. This is the dark side of unchecked kindness. It can leave you lonely and unseen, even while everyone calls you caring. It can put you in relationships where you do all the giving and others only take. It can make you feel like your own needs are sinful for existing.